The history of Al-Andalus is part of the history of Spain.
For nearly 1,000 years, the Muslim people lived in the Iberian Peninsula, influencing Spanish culture. The legacy of the Arabs is still present today in the architecture, food, and Spanish language. This influence is particularly visible in the cities of Andalusia in southern Spain. In the year 711, the Arab conqueror Tariq ibn Ziyad arrived at the Bay of Algeciras with around 7,000 soldiers ready for adventure. After their arrival, the Rock of Gibraltar became their refuge, and the soldiers began to plunder and destroy nearby villages. This action was the first step in the conquest of the south of the Iberian Peninsula. The decisive battle was fought at the Guadalete River, where the Visigoth army was defeated by the strength of the Arabs. This victory marked the beginning of what is known as the Golden Age, where the Arabs imposed their mark and history on every corner of the peninsula.
The first incursions of the Muslim military into the Iberian Peninsula caused concern among the Visigoth court, but they were not enough to declare war.
However, as the attacks intensified, the situation became increasingly threatening. King Rodrigo then decided to wage war, but the lack of unity among the Visigoths and the strength of their enemy did not allow this to happen. After Rodrigo's death and the increase in internal disputes, Tariq took advantage of the situation to strengthen his rule in the region, settling in cities like Cadiz. With the intention of conquering the Iberian Peninsula, the governor of the Muslim Empire, Musa bin Nusair, gathered a large army of 18,000 soldiers to join Tariq in his endeavor. Together, they departed from Cadiz to attack Medina Sidonia and then Sevilla, which was the capital of Hispalis. Once the city was conquered, the army split up to be able to advance faster and occupy more territory. Thus, Córdoba, Mérida and other cities fell under their control. The goal of the Muslims was to conquer the Visigoth capital of Toledo. In parallel, they began to move south and east, and the battles with the royal army ended quickly, with the victory of the Muslims.
As a result, Malaga, Granada and Jaén were also conquered. As the Muslim army advanced, the goal of conquering the Iberian Peninsula was increasingly close. In the year 711, Tariq disembarked in Algeciras and Musa conquered Toledo with hardly any resistance. During the spring, Tariq and Musa headed to Guadalajara, Alcalá de Henares, Medinaceli and other cities, and the conquest seemed unstoppable. When the Muslim army reached the north, they encountered the nobles who had fled the conquered cities. Therefore, they took thousands of prisoners and confiscated their wealth. This marked the beginning of the Islamization of Spain, and the Muslims established themselves as the rulers of the Iberian Peninsula. Life in Al-Andalus, as the region was known, was a mix of both Muslim and Christian culture. Muslims and Christians lived in peace and harmony, sharing the territory peacefully.
This allowed the region to prosper and flourish during the Arab era.
Reaching as far north as Lugo and Gijón, regions of the old Visigoth Hispania, they encountered no significant resistance, nor signs of violence. The conquest stopped at Tarragona and Narbona. Upon receiving an order from the Caliph to travel to Damascus, Musa turned around and marched to Toledo.
The conquest of the Hispanic territory had been quick and easy, but now it had to be secured. Many nobles embraced Islam to maintain control, so in many regions, not much changed.
Abd el-Aziz ibn Musa, Musa's son, was responsible for consolidating the conquest.
He named Sevilla as the new capital of Al-Andalus and assumed the role of Wali, the governor. To guarantee control, Abd el-Aziz was in charge of eradicating any focus of resistance that arose, and he resubjugated those cities that had risen up, such as Malaga. To replace Abd el-Aziz, his elder brother who was the governor of Ifriqiya, a region in North Africa, Alhur assumed command. He was aware that the Visigoth governors with whom agreements had been made were still powerful, and the Arab population was still a minority in the peninsula. Therefore, one could not let their guard down. Alhur understood that in the north there was an independent Visigoth population and the Franks could become formidable allies. As a result, he decided to continue expanding and attacking cities like Lleida, Tarragona, Barcelona, and Girona to control the whole region. In 718, Caliph Omar II decided that it was enough to maintain what had been conquered and that it was not necessary to continue advancing, as so much war entailed a high cost and resulted in few revenues. Therefore, Omar II appointed Al-Sam ben Malik as the new governor of Al-Andalus, with the aim of establishing peaceful coexistence among all inhabitants and to generate greater revenues, making it clear that the Arabs would stay in the peninsula. However, the presence of the Muslim Empire in the peninsula was a temporary, not definitive conquest, and the inhabitants of the region were always aware that they were not masters of their own land. This gave rise to a germ of resistance that lasted for the following 8 centuries, until the beginning of the Reconquista.
Are you eager to learn more? What happened afterwards? What are you waiting for? How did the Spanish manage to recover the peninsula?
Next audiobook, The Reconquista.
Subscribe to stay up to date with new updates.